Hey, hey, hey. Okay, so today we are going to be painting a cow gnome. And how much fun is he going to be? He's going to be so much fun. Okay, so it's Erica from Wallace House Designs, and we are going to be working on some shading. We're going to be working on some definitions, and we're going to be here for a few minutes. So grab a drink, go grab a snack, hang out with me. If it's your lunch break, pop in some earbuds, and let's get to painting. So he's Mr. Roma would want in. Okay, so I'm gonna talk while I go let him in. Mr. Gnome is primarily white. There's a lot of white, there's a lot of black in our design today, but we're not gonna let that scare us. He's primarily like 4 colors. And I've pulled out some different colors to shade him. But primarily he's about 4 colors. So you can get this whole design in about 4 bottles of paint, okay? We're going to start off with some white. I'm going to bring my little paint palette down here. I just reuse the same palette. I do have a clean one for when I go to shade, and I do have one that I just do some little that I use to raise them up. That way I don't get a bunch of paint all over my table. So it's a pain to clean up. So we're just going to put our favorite paintbrushes over here. We've got our Mr. Nummy Man here. Hey, Terry. Hey, Nicole. How are y'all doing? Hey, Ashley. How are y'all doing today? It's Monday. We're going to do a Make It Monday. So let's make it, okay? So we're going to clean our brush, get it nice and wet. I do put brush cleaner in my paint water. It helps keep the paint inside my dirty brushes broken down as best as possible. And I switch from different brushes. I'm not married to any particular brush cleaner. The one that I'm using today, I believe, is called Pink Soap. I think it's called Pink Soap. All right, so we're just going to be using Deco Art White. I think I'm using Snow White today. It didn't warm white, Snow White, doesn't matter. To me, they're all the same except for when you're doing very particular things. Warm white has a softer touch to it. Snow White is more paper white. So we're just going to base coat him completely Snow White. If you're wondering what brushes I'm using, I love Royal and Langnickel, all the things. Okay, Royal and Langnickel, they don't know I exist, so I'm not getting anything from the company. I just after painting majority of my life, I'm a general crafter, but I've painted, I've scrapbooked, and I've crocheted most of my life. Those are the crafts that I tend, and I like to sew a little bit. I don't like to sew as much as I used to. I like a good no-sew project, though. I do like a good no-sew project. Like my garlands. I don't know if you can see my little fabric garlands I like to make. I do like those. I think they complement our paintings very well. I think they bring a softness to our paintings. So, but as long as I've been painting Royal and Langnickel, I've noticed, not even realizing, not paying attention in my earlier years, but going through some of my old craft supplies, I realized I've been hanging out with Royal and Langnickel a good long bit. So I do highly recommend their brushes. If you like to paint, if you like a big chunky bristle, as far as like really thick, nice amount of bristles there. I like mine to be a little on the thinned out side. I feel like I control the bristle a little better. That's why I like the Pro brushes. This is a Pro brush, and these are called Menta. These are the Menta line. Those are my 2 favorite lines. Now, when I did paint parties, the best bang for your buck when it comes to brushes are the Royal and Langnickel Big Kid brushes. They're very comparable to everybody's very trusted triangle brushes, but they're not triangle. I hate the feeling of the triangle handles. So I've always been a big fan of the Big Kid choice brushes. And honestly, I feel like the bristles hold up better than the triangle ones. I had a whole classroom set of the Big Kid choice brushes. Hey, Aaliyah. Hey, Lori. Marla, can I see the garland you're talking about? Well, yes, ma'am, Miss Marla, you can. So I made this. I just hosted a virtual paint party. It's over now, but you can still join in and get the templates and view the tutorials. But I just made this fabric garland to accompany this door hanger. This is called our Pocket Full of Posies. There is a virtual paint party that has tutorials, templates, JPEGs, and a bonus tutorial of a fabric garland. I like to match it with this garland. So this was my patriotic but not patriotic design this year. So it's red, white, and blue without being a flag, right? Because a lot of us aren't necessarily from the US of A. So there's our red, white, and blue. If my Vanna White skills are not on point. So there's our red, white, and blue design without being an American flag. So you can actually have that up in the spring through Memorial Day, transitioning into summer before you put your big bright up in summer, like around June, July time. So that's what I had in mind for that one. So if you'd like more information on anything we talk about today, if you put the word gnome in the comments today, anything I talk about, I will come back after the live and I will link it. So I'll link the Pocket Full of Posy virtual paint party. I'll also link the template to Mr. Cow Gnome here, Mr. Moo Cow. Anything y'all ask about, I'll come back and I'll link it. I'll put something that'll link back to everything that we talk about today. Oh, thank you, Marla. Hey, Jacqueline. How are you doing? Oh, the Cindy's. One half of Cindy's are here. Cindy Wilson's here. Watching but can't hear you. We are in the waiting room for the doctor's office for Caleb. Is he okay? How are things going with him? Oh, there's Cindy Carrier. Okay, we got both our Cindy's here, y'all. It's going to be a party. I need someone in the waiting room to hand Cindy Wilson over some headphones. Second Cindy's here. I love the Cindy's. Have y'all met in real life? I need to know that the Cindy's have combined forces in real life. I need to know this has happened. If not, I need to make this happen. I need to make this happen. I have a retreat coming up that I'm going to be at. Y'all should come hang out with me in Dallas. I need a picture with the Cindy's. Oh, man, I have a goal now, a personal goal. So, yes, that design is a red, white, and blue without being a flag. So that kind of spans, and it can be painted any colors you want. You don't necessarily have to paint them the yellowish white. I don't like flat white when it comes to flowers and floral arrangements. I'll do them, but I really don't like it. Let's see, but they can be painted in any different color. You can have any color scheme going on with that. Okay, so we've got him base coated white, so all the white's going to be taken care of. So let's go ahead and work from the background up. Every painter has different ways of attacking a template. Some color block, some base coat, and sometimes I do base coat the whole thing, and then I come back and I start adding some little nuances to it. But today we're going to work from the background up, and then the furthest thing back are his little legs. So let's go ahead and just throw some shading. His pants are white. If you've ever seen a picture of an old school milkman that's dropping off little glass bottles on the counter, he's got some white pants on, right? Okay, so we're going to grab a little shading brush, which is an angle, my favorite. They do call flats shaders. They also call flats washes. So I'm gonna need them to pick a side of the fence. But I like to shade with my angle brushes. So I'm gonna pull in some sky gray, and I'm gonna mix a little bit of my sky gray into my white. I don't want to go straight sky gray because it's gonna be very harsh against my white. So I'm gonna put some white and sky gray side by side. I'm gonna load my brush up with the white, which means I'm just going to dirty it up. Just going to put some in there. And then I'm going to take some of the sky gray. I'm going to put it on the toe of the brush, which is, sometimes I call it the front. So if you ever hear me call it the front, it just means it's the longest part. And we're just going to on both sides, okay? We don't want to just do one side. I just want to put a little bit. We're going to flip it over because I'm a directional painter. We're going to flip back over, and we're going to do this side. And that should give us a nice little, looks like his legs are curving in because there's a little bit of a shadow. All right, we're going to take our heat it tool, which is just a quiet blow dryer. It doesn't push air, it pushes heat. That's That's why they call it the heat it tool. Now, if you really get some thick paint, it's not gonna be your best friend. This is when you paint with thin layers. I paint typically with some thin layers until I get the flowers. When I get the flowers, paint is as thick as pudding. I'm telling you, I'm bad. I'm bad about it. You're never gonna like run your hand over my paintings if flowers are involved and get like a perfectly smooth. I'm not that kind of painter. Oh, I'm gonna be there in Dallas. I'm so Karen, I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet all y'all in Dallas. And I'm actually gonna have all the time in the world to be able to float from table to table and meet everybody. Oh, I want to be there so bad. The dates are during our family vacation. Okay, so July is actually a really busy month for me. The fact that it's really close to home makes it really convenient for me to be able to go. I will say that because I'm North Louisiana and it's in Dallas. So it's only about 3 hours away from me. And I'm going to be in Dallas the next weekend too for a marriage retreat. It's going to be so much fun. So much fun. Marriage retreats. They just sound like a blast, don't they? Sounds like a lot of work, like marriage in general. But I'm really excited about it. I really am. I can only be on for a few minutes, but we'll come back and watch later. Okay, Stacy, I will see you on the hashtag replay. So if you're catching the replay, put hashtag replay. Okay, so we are going to keep moving forward. So we have his, let's look at our, we have his pants in the background. Then we're going to move even further. We can either work on this part of his hat or we can work on his shoes. I'm going to opt for probably just doing both at the same time. I primarily do not mess with black until the very end, but this is an exception. The majority of his color is black and blue. We can base coat the blue and the black at the same time and then come back and do all the fun shading afterwards. So why don't we do that? Let's go ahead and mess with some blue before we throw black on there. So I'm going to put Indian turquoise, which is my favorite go-to blue. Indian turquoise. It's a nice, soft, but not quite baby blue. And I'm just going to take my 1/2-inch angle brush and I'm going to base coat this entire milk bottle. The entire thing. Indian turquoise, another reason why I love it, it's a one-coat wonder. It's a one-coat wonder. It can be patchy if you're painting something big and you're not using the correct brush size to get it on, but it is a one-coat wonder. It's not a messy paint. It's thick enough. It's got a nice consistency that you can have really good brush control with it. I love it. If blue is involved, usually I'm going to probably opt for, especially like a glass or a sky blue. These are my nice little sky blues. Okay, so we've got our base coat on. Just going to round it. Now, we've done the glass look before, and we're definitely going to do it again. Okay, like I said, this one's going to be a little bit of a tedious one. I really want to give y'all a good showcase of what's going on, of how to really make him pop without a lot of paint pen work, right? There'll be a little bit of paint pen work, but not a lot. Not a lot. We're going to let that dry. Let's go ahead and base coat our cowbell. I'm going to use Calypso blue, which will be also the blue that we use to shade our milk bottle. So we're going to use Calypso blue. I like it because it's a little bit darker than the Indian turquoise, but not dark, dark blue. So when I designed this, I was really pulling back the memories of Saturday Night Live with the I Need More Cowbell. And every time I see him, I say, I need more cowbell. And see Will Ferrell with the. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Hey, Deetra, what's up? Okay, there we go. So we've base coated the blue. The Cindy Carrier's in Florida. The Cindy Wilson is going to, no, Cindy Carrier is going to be on vacation. Cindy Wilson says, get out of here. I can't stand not hearing you. Caleb is okay, just on a well check. We've got a bunch of well checks coming up too, because I've got one entering kindergarten, one entering high school, and they've all got to have shots. So and neither one of them like shots. Nobody likes shots. Let's just be real. So I think we'll be doing that before the summer's over. Hey, Morgan. What's up? Hey, girl. Watching you while I'm at the knocking out some calories while we knock out some paint. I accept that. Okay, so I'm going to have my DecoArt lamp black. I'm not going to use straight black, y'all. It's not my favorite thing to do, and I'll tell you why. I like to ghost it down just a little bit, and if you've ever heard me say that, it just means I'm adding white to something, okay? That means I'm just adding a little bit of white to make it just a little bit lighter than the straight from the bottle color. We're going to make a very dark gray. I don't like using straight black on much because then you have nothing to shade with, okay? And then if you do choose to use your paint pen, you really don't have, it really doesn't pop. So you really don't want to use straight from the bottle black as an actual paint color. So here, anywhere you see black, it's going to actually be a very super dark charcoal, just a shade or two lighter than black. So we're just going to take our 1/2 inch angle, and we're just going to base coat that. And if you wonder how I can keep my lines so clean and crisp, I don't use a lot of pressure when I use my angle brushes. I wish I could go definitely next one. Diana, I want to see you. Yes, definitely the next one. There will always be a next one. I can say that. I can say that. Their retreats are not a new concept. We women have been having them since before I was born. I know that my mama has been to craft retreats or has talked about a craft retreat my entire life. She's been going to Stitch, which is cross stitch retreats, for years and years and years and years. There have been scrapbook retreats. There have been, a retreat is not a new concept. So, and we don't have to have a reason to have one too. We can just say, hey, I got some free time. Let's just hang out. We can call it a retreat. And honestly, my mama's stitch retreats, that's what they are. They're not even organized. They're not like, they have vendors. They have people who bring their finished projects and lay them out, and they do sell some of their stuff. You know, some people just go to sell some of their finished artwork, but they, all right. So while we're at it, while we've got our color, size is this. This is a 3/8 angle. I use a lot of angles. I don't use a lot of other size shape brushes. Angles are my favorite. On this little cowbell part, the little ball of the bell, we're just going to put that sky gray there. Just base coat that. I always find myself pressing too hard on the brushes while painting. One, that'll tear your brush up. Now there are times where that is part of the technique, but it will tear your brush up. And two, it lays down way too much paint at a time. Even base coating, you don't want to like really chisel it in there. You really want to use the tips of your brush and move the paint around. You don't want to push that brush up into the metal part of your brush. Brushes are my favorite too. Angle brushes, I'm telling you, they're so versatile. I love them. Okay, so we've got our bottle base coated. We have our bell base coated. We have all the bottom base coated. I'm going to go up here since we already have our, we are going to use a flat. I think we're going to use like teeny tiny, look at this little flat. What size are you? It's a size 6, I think. That's 6 flat. Okay, so we're going to use same thing. We're going to ghost out some black. We're going to try and match it to just that charcoal gray that we had made. And we're going to make some cow spots. And cow spots are the easiest animal print you can make because they're just blobs. Hold on, let me see if I can make it with my angle brush without making it a mess. I really like doing cow spots with a flat brush because I feel like they're cleaner. And if you have trouble doing cow spots, what I recommend doing, yeah, I like the angle brush better. You can just make little circles in the shapes of blobs. See, there's a bunch of little circles just clustered up together. So I'm just going to make a circle, and then fill it in. There's another little cow spot. Cow spots are easy. Okay, let's do a kind of like a polka dot, kind of like you would go in for a polka dot. Okay, what I don't want to do is I don't want to get any of this black on the brim up here. I want it to stay stark white, okay? We're going to do a little bit of shading on that, but we're going to leave it as white as possible to give some contrast from the brim of his hat and the hat itself. My little trick when designing of keeping that brim nice and clean, it makes it pop a lot better. Okay, so we're going to do a kind of the start of a circle. Fill everything in. Let's see. I think we can do a little bit right there. I think we can do a little bit there. Just a little peekaboo of one. Just a little peekaboo. Let me flip this around a little bit. Just a little peekaboo. Usually I would use a flat for these, but that wasn't too bad. Okay. I got a little bit there, but that's okay. I can go back and touch that up with white. I could try and clean that up with a baby white, but because it's black, I want to minimize the damage. Actually, let's see if we can do this little trick. Let's wet our paintbrush. See if we can clean that up just a little bit, kind of feather it out. Our paint water's too dirty. Well, yeah, see, our paint water was dirty. So we'll just go back over that with white. Take some white paint and just kind of clean that up. And take a couple of coats. So we're going to let that dry, come back and do another coat. 6 months maybe. Bill Phillips, tiny. Aw, what's happening? I know, Deidre, you and I have very similar birthdays. Like, I think you're just a couple days away from mine. That's the other thing that's going on that weekend. So that week is my birthday week. And then the retreat, that's on the 15th, 16th. Just after that is my birthday. And then just after that is another trip to Dallas. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be so much fun. Okay, so we've got our hat painted, but not shaded. So it's not finished yet, but we are gonna let all that black dry before we go over with anything as far as shading. We've got our shoes painted, but not shaded. Nothing down here is shaded. We can go ahead and paint his little beard. I'm gonna mix a little bit of white with this sky gray, about a half and half mixture of the sky gray with white, because I'm going to come back in with the sky gray and shade it, okay? I don't want his beard and his mustache to be so dark. I don't want it to be, I want it to be light and airy, just like the rest of them. I want the black or a really dark charcoal gray to really stand out and really be the thing that pops. Okay, so I'm going to flip him around. Make sure I don't paint into his little pants that we did earlier. I don't want to get into his hands. His hands and his nose are going to be one of the last things that we paint because they're the thing that sits furthest on top. And that means we want to make sure that they pop the most because of where they sit. Okay, so we're just base coating. This is a half and half mixture of sky gray and white. So we ghosted down sky gray just a wee bit. When I say a wee bit, I mean a lot. We're doing a lot of fussy painting today, and I think on a gnome it's worth it because a gnome has a good bit of details and elements, and all of them are important. All of them get a good showcasing, if that makes sense. You tend to take your time when looking at a gnome. You look to see what's in his hands. You look to see what's on his hat. Everything about a gnome. Oop, I just went and painted inside his little nose. That's okay. We'll just paint his entire nose. That's a trick. If you overpaint something, which means you get outside the lines, as long as you paint the entire thing, it won't cause too much of an issue down the road when you finally get to that little element. I was not wanting to paint his nose, but I was talking, so. Okay. Just got a little bit more. That'll be our base coat on him. Okay, when you're painting the edge of something, so say where his mustache and his hat brim meet, you want to make sure the toe of your brush, the front, the longest part of your brush is in that direction. You have more control over it. There was a time not too long ago where I had more control of the back end of an angle brush, the heel of it. I'll also refer to that as the back or the back end of it. But the more I play with it, the more I got used to it, the better control of the toe I got. Are you going to Brooke from Wreath retreat? No, I'm not. You know, I haven't even looked into that one. And hers more of a business retreat. Hers is business, isn't it? Hey, Becky. What's up, girl? What you doing? Real, right? That size 6, right? That it's a teeny tiny. It could have been a 0, honestly. It was so teeny tiny, and the print on it was so gone. It was gone. Okay, so we have, I'm going to need my teeny tiny little angle brush. That was it, wasn't it? That was it. So my 1/2 inch angle, no, my 3/8, which is not quite 1/2 inch because a 1/2 inch would be 4/8. So this is a 3/8, so it's not quite a 1/2 inch. We're going to play with some blending gel, okay? Because before we do our milk color, which is going to be light buttermilk, and we're going to ghost it down with some white as well. We're going to put some blending gel or some floating medium. Today we're going to do floating medium because I give blending gel it's time to shine all the time. So I'm going to put my little tray right here that has a little bit of floating medium. That's way more than I'm going to need. I'm going to dirty my brush up with it, which just means I'm going to load it. It is nice and loaded with some floating medium. And when I do this, if you look right here, this will tell me if my brush is clean or dirty, okay? I go ahead and load my brush up, especially since I've played with black and blue. Red's another one that you got to be careful with because it'll creep into your brush. And mine had some white in it. So I'm going to pick it up. And I'm going to work it into the brush. And then I'm going to look at my brush and see how clean it was. Earlier, there was some white that was kind of foaming up. Okay. It's clean enough. And then I look at the liquid that's on my white tray. That's the one reason when I'm shading, I like to use a white tray. It'll tell me if it's dirty. It's not dirty. Okay. And I'm going to take a little bit of this Calypso blue. I'm going to put, when I say a little bit, can you tell how little bit I'm putting on there? I'm going to come over here off to a clean part of the tray, and I'm going to just work it in. Okay. I'm going to go back and forth. I get these trays from the Dollar Tree, if anybody's wondering. Okay. I never go back into that floating medium with a dirty brush. We don't want to contaminate it. Okay. And we're just going to take our cow gnome and we're going to work our brush around. And then we'll just pick up some Calypso blue when needed. Okay, we want to keep it on the very tiptoe of that toe of the brush. Now we are going to go ahead and fill this in completely with Calypso blue. So I'm just going to go down the line. That blending gel, or not, that floating medium will make it look super glassy because it'll give you some brush strokes, but it'll be more translucent than normal brush strokes. All right, so there's that. I'm going to clean my brush because I got Calypso blue all over my brush for doing that. I'm going to take my brush again. I'm going to load it up with some floating medium. See if it's clean. It's clean. And while I'm seeing if it's clean, it's also working that floating medium up into my bristles. And I don't have to load my brush again. I can just come over here and pick up what's still wet over here, or I can load my bristles. Okay. So it doesn't matter. Okay. And we're just going to go all the way around this bottle with short, choppy motions. And light pressure. When we feel like we've ran out of paint on our brush, just come back over to your blending tray. And we're going to float it all the way around. Okay. Now, if I get up close, you'll see how that's darker than that. And it'll just make that glass bottle pop. Now we can go in with our baby pink, but we got to dry this entire thing first. We need to paint our pink straw now. Either I go to Dallas but couldn't pull it off this I bet you said, I wish I could go to Dallas, but I couldn't pull it off this year. There's still time. Unless it is time, you know, like unless there's, I thought I saw the lights flicker. There's a storm rolling in and it hadn't quite gotten here yet. They're offering a Mother's Day discount. I swear I'm seeing lights flicker. It's really bothering me just because I want to finish this before the lights go out. I feel like the last time we sat down and painted, there were so many distractions. I owed it to y'all to not have any. And then Romo Dog, first thing out the gate, he wanted in the house. But he's now laying on the couch and not being bothered by not one person. All right, so this is nice and dry. If y'all enjoy doing anything that we do here on the page, I bet you'd enjoy Paint Studio, because Paint Studio is this and more. We do a lot of this in Paint Studio. We tackle new paint techniques. So Pocket Full of Posies was a lot like a glimpse of what it's like to be in the Paint Studio. We tackle an attachment, a door hanger, and a garland, and extra projects throughout the month that all coordinate together. Sometimes I'll do the extra projects here over here on the Facebook page, and they'll tie into, I swear, lights are flickering. They don't need to be. So if you're ever looking for a crafty community where we have curated projects every month that are fun and entertaining and just a community filled of like-minded people who totally get your crafty obsessions, I would highly recommend you to check out the paint studio. We are open for new members this week only, and it'll close on the 30th, and we will not open for new members until the fall. I'm not exactly sure what time in the fall, but we will not be opening until the fall. Because once I close the doors, I like to spend plenty of time loving on my paint studio fam. Oh, Kaylin says she signed up for studio. Now, anybody that signs up for studio, you'll be getting an email within about 24 hours of your registration time, okay? So if you signed up, say, yesterday at 8 p.m., then by 8 p.m. the next day, you should be receiving your welcome email that has the group info where you can click and enter the group, where I'll apply for the group. And then on the first of the month, you'll be admitted into the group, and it'll be your very first day in the studio. And I cannot wait. Don't forget to read all the way to the bottom of the email. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So for all the people that are coming in, when you get your welcome email, don't just go straight for the group link and then don't read the rest of it. I highly recommend you to read all the way to the bottom. Okay, so we have our hat painted. We have our glass jar painted. Now we need to paint our straw and be done with our glass jar, okay? We have Poodle Skirt Pink, and we can all thank our friend Terry for our bottle of Poodle Skirt Pink, because my town has been out of it for months and months and months. And my sweet friend Terry, who is also a Paint Studio family member, she was ever so gracious to go check her store out. And she was like, I found 3, I think she said 3 or 4 bottles. She goes, you got 2 and I got 2. So sorry for anybody else in her town who wanted a bottle, because she was like, nope, they are mine. And she was so sweet to send me 2. So now I have plenty in my stash. It's my favorite go-to baby pink. I like all my pinks to coordinate. I'm very funny about my pinks. I'm very, very, very funny about my pinks. I like if I have things that have pink in it. There's something about that pink. I just love it. It's so girly and so soft and so clean. And they coordinate. All right, we're not done with that yet, okay? We're just base coating that Poodle Skirt Pink. I always want to call it baby pink. Yes, Karen, it's $15 a month. Oh, you were answering Carla, it's $15 a month. You get a door hanger. Okay, so let me kind of give you, while this is dry, so I don't have to blow dry it, let me kind of give you a glimpse of the things that you get in there. You get the digital files for a door hanger. So let's just use this as an example. So you get the door hanger. You get the porch leaner attachment, or you can use this as a wreath attachment. You can use this as a interchangeable door attachment. Okay, so you get that as well. And you get the files for a garland that coordinate, okay? We do some no-sew projects in there that coordinate with your garlands. We do some extra bonus projects. You get bonus templates some month. You get bonus stencil files some month. I get bonuses every month. So you get a garland, you get an attachment, and you get a door hanger that all coordinate so that they become a set, okay? They become a set. This is not going to stay up. I just know it. It's going to cause issues. We're going to put you down here because that was a balancing act that I had going on back there. So you get all of that each month, plus bonus projects. So in Pocket Full of Posies, the fabric garland was a bonus project. We've done bonus templates. We've done bonus porch leaner templates, bonus porch leaner stencils. We've done stencil cut files. Everything comes in a cut file as far as the stencils, okay? This is one of my most popular requested, this stencil itself, okay? Only the Paint Studio has it. I do not put that up for purchase in my website. You get all the files on the 2nd of the month every month. You can resize them however you want. So really, that porch leaner attachment, you can resize it and make it another door. How cute would just that flower be for a summer or a spring door hanger, right? So it's $15 a month to be a part of the studio. Inside the studio, you get exclusive discounts. It's the only place that I give actual discounts as far as like all month long. You can use them on any day, not just on Tuesdays. You get a 20% off of blanks. So if you need to order the blanks, you pretty much get your value out of it by being able to get 20% off of your blanks. You also get 40% off all month long. You get a 40% coupon off of all templates and JPEGs in my site. You don't have to wait for Tuesday if there's one that you don't already have and you're like, oh, I really want that. Let me use my coupon on it. Hey, Marilyn. So we are open today and it will close on the 30th. So time is ticking and we will not open until the fall. It will not open until the fall because admitting new people into a group, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of back stuff that has to happen when you admit people into a group. And I just want to love on my group. I love my paint studio family. There's also this element of legit family. Like it's like we pray for each other. Like I've never seen that inside any other group. We seriously put prayer requests up just randomly whenever we feel like we need just to be lifted up. We put prayer requests up and we legit pray for each other. And it's just so, it's homey. Like it's like going to grandma's house every Sunday. I don't know how to explain it. I am going to pull in, I hope that's carousel pink. It'll work. Let's do carousel pink. I want to do some shading on this straw before we go to our next step. Load it up with some floating medium. Put a drop of carousel pink. And we're just going to put that carousel pink on the toe. Okay. Now, the thing about shading, we're just going to put it on one side of the straw. Thing about shading, if it's not dark enough, don't go for a darker shade. Just let it dry and do a second coat. It will deepen. See how it deepened there? It will deepen that first layer without clashing your colors. Carousel pink and poodle skirt pink coordinate very well. So there we go. We did a little bit of shading. We're going to go at the top and the bottom of the straw. There we go. I'm going to let that dry. We are going to bring the heated tool in just to speed that up a little bit. Work? Nah, Aaliyah's like, work? Nah. Aaliyah does it for Southern Adornments. If you wonder who Aaliyah is, she is the right-hand man of Southern Adornments. So whenever there's admitting or behind the scenes work, a lot of times it's Aaliyah either doing it or coordinating it. So when she goes, work, she knows. Like if she says it's work. Always pops in and helps out. Oh, thanks, Terry. Terry says, here, let's show. Terry says Erica always pops in and out and helps with questions and such. She's very helpful. Oh, I try. Oh, Jacqueline. She goes, I love Paint Studio. If you're on the fence, you won't regret joining. I'm telling you, it's only $15. It's worth trying. I'm not going to lie. It's worth trying. I am one that I'm in a bunch of other painting groups as well. I'm in Paint Studio. Obviously, I'm in Painters Clubhouse. I'm in Ashley's Template Tribe. I love being a part of communities, especially ones that are very helpful. Paint Studio is extremely helpful. All the ladies in there are very encouraging. They love to love on each other, and I do. I pop in all the time. Along with my crafty friends. Some of them will pop in. Like this month, Regina from Kitchen Confetti, she popped in and she did a cute little bumblebee and offered the file. That was another bonus this month. We were so blessed to have Regina come in. She says, I love Paint Studio. Oh, Ashley Richard. She says, I love Paint Studio. I love the small communities. I really do love a small community. It's like going to a small church. Like you really know, the pastor knows every single person's name. He knows their kids' names, their grandkids' names, sometimes the dog's name. Everybody at church, not my church, but like in a small church, everybody would know my dog's name because I talk about Romo all the time. So it's like it's that kind of community. Okay, so now we've got our straw painted. Let's go ahead and make that a glassy look. Now, we've been using our floating medium to shade. Let me show you another trick that floating medium can do. Blending gel can do this as well. Blending gel is probably better for this trick than floating medium because blending gel stays wetter longer. Floating medium tends to dry a lot faster. So we're just going to put a little patch of it down here. We're going to take let's take our Indian turquoise, not our Calypso blue, and we're just going to make a wash of it, okay? So we're making a translucent wash, and we're just going to go over the pink and the straw on the bottom half. Okay. I'm also going to take a little bit of Calypso blue and see where this little patch ends. I'm going to put a little bit of Calypso blue off above it and start working the Indian turquoise. So in the paint studio, the thing that I think sets us apart from a lot of other painting communities is that we gear ourselves towards learning new techniques and mastering them to become better painters. You do not necessarily have to be a door hanger artist because a lot of our projects tend to be a little smaller. We do have one door hanger, but we paint an attachment, we paint a garland. If you're a DIYer, and you just like making your own home decor, this is perfect because you get a curated set every month. And I release them in plenty of time to where you have a few months before you'll ever need them. So let's see, your first red, white, and blue holiday, that Pocket Full of Posy, which I will say, Paint Studio got free access to Pocket Full of Posy. That was another perk that they got this month. You won't need that till May. You can put it up now, which I have it up now. It's probably my favorite door hanger I have going on right now. But you won't need that till May, till Memorial Day. All right, let's blow dry that so we don't mess up any of that hard work there. I'm gonna grab a darker blue and deepen this up and just hit the corners of it, okay? The reason this heated tool, without it blowing a lot of air, the reason it's working so well is because I'm putting light layers. After I base coat this thing, everything else goes on in super light layers. The first initial base coat of every element, like his nose and his hands, will be a thicker coat of paint, but everything on top of that will be a lighter coat of paint. This right here was the thickest coat of paint for this bell, but on top of it, I'm going to put, let's add, is this True Blue? True Blue. Let's take a little bit of True Blue, mix it into our Calypso blue. So we're just going to take a drop or two. Okay, so we've got our True Blue and our Calypso blue. And I'm going to make a darker shade of this Calypso blue. And the reason this is going to work is because it has in it the original color, okay? It's not going to clash because we mix the original color in there with it. It's not always it's not the rule for everything, but usually if you have trouble finding colors that shade perfectly with your, I'm concentrating and trying to paint at the same time. If you can't find a bottle of paint that shades well with your old, like Pool Skirt Pink and Calypso Pink, this doesn't always happen straight out the bottle, okay? These two I've shaded with plenty of times and they just don't clash to me. So they work every single time. I will say for my peachy flesh tone colors, Natural Buff and Warm Beige, they just work well together straight from the bottle. Warm Beige could actually be a touch darker in my opinion, but it works well and I don't mess with what works. But say you don't have a color, blues are really hard to match. Say you don't have a color that works straight from the bottle. And honestly, True Blue straight from the bottle would be very clashing. And I'm going to show you here. I just added a little bit more True Blue to my brush. And see how dark that is? We can tone that down. I'm going to show you. That's why we don't always try to lean on straight from the bottle colors, because they don't always work like we want them to. So we're going to tone this down. So all I did was I put some floating medium on my brush. And we're just going to move this. We're going to thin it out a little bit, okay? Just going to thin it out. Kind of erases it just a little bit. Okay, that's a lot better. That's a lot softer. We're not going to worry about getting a little bit of blue in his hands because we haven't painted it yet. We can go ahead and throw a little white on there just to kind of help it along. Okay. Let's work on his beard and his mustache, and then we'll work on his hands and his hat and his nose and his lip. That's still a lot. It's so okay. So only templates. Oh, Tammy says she's already part of Erica's template tribe. That's another thing I want to make a point of. If you think that studio templates, say you really like them, and you're like, oh, I'll just wait for them to become part of Erica's template tribe, which is a totally different group that I have. They don't become part of Erica's template tribe. They are totally exclusive to the studio. They do get released to the public eventually, but by the time they're released to the public, they are no longer in season. They'll be for next year, right? They'll get released to the public within 30 to 60 days, but usually they're creeping up on being out of season. So if you really want them in enough time to be able to do them for them to be in season, Paint Studio is the way to go. And they will never become part of Erica's template tribe. Tammy, I'm excited that you're going to come hang with us in the studio. It's going to be a blast. Okay, so remember, we ghosted down our gray, okay? Ghosted down our gray from sky gray. So I'm going to put straight from the bottle sky gray. I did not want my gray in my beard to be super saturated. I wanted it just to the shading in my beard. I wanted it to be barely there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to straight from the bottle sky gray. Okay, and it's going to be barely there shading. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and shade the beard first. We're going to need to deepen it up just a little bit. We didn't ghost it out enough to begin with. So I'm going to add a dot of Gray Storm. Appropriate for today because today is going to be a stormy day. So I'm going to just add a dot of Gray Storm to my gray sky because every gray sky could possibly become a gray storm, right? And I am changing up the studio. So for any current members, we're now going to be, instead of having, it used to be just one paint tutorial every month. I am now going to do 2 paint tutorials every month. I'm going to go ahead and start doing, it used to be we just painted the door hanger. But then I'd always paint the attachment and the garland by myself. It makes no daggum sense that I'm painting by myself. So I've decided I'm going to go ahead and do in 2 different lives. So on 2 different occasions throughout the month, I'm going to go ahead and paint the door hanger one day. And then on another day, I'm going to paint the garland and attachment. Or a guest artist can come in and paint the garland and attachment if they so choose, if they want to. All right, so I'm just going around and I am just adding this little layer of gray. It's barely there. See, it's just barely, let me get it in the light. See how it's just barely there? It's really going to make it pop. Soften it up. Okay. It's really going to make a difference. The place where this gray really makes a difference is on the mustache. We do a good bit of shading. Not every month is about shading. I do try to focus on shading because I do feel like it is something that amplifies your paintings without a lot of work. But every month we tackle a completely different paint technique. This month was lilacs and palette knife. So this was this month's design. And when you join, you get the current month and the previous month. So you get 2 months worth of files. And then the next month, the oldest month will fall off and the newest month will fall in. So you get every month you have access to 2 months worth of files at a time, but you have permanent access to them. I email them to you. So you always have whatever files that you're a current member of. So say you're July, August, September, October of 2022, you will have forever in your email. You'll have the files for those designs. And here's the garland. How cute is this garland going to be? I haven't strung it yet because I want to make a fabric. And then there's a second piece to that door hanger that hangs down, kind of like a baby door hanger. It was really fun. We had a blast painting this one. We've done palette knife. We've done, girls help me out because now I'm drawing a blank. We've done palette knife. We've done shading. The very first month we focused on shading just to get our bearings with shading. A lot of people, that was their first attempt at shading. Let's see, and in February, I'm mentally going through the designs that we've done. Terry, this is where you shine, girl. Help me out. The video will always, and that is a good part. Thank you, Terry. The videos will always be there. The videos never go away. The only thing that goes away are the designs. So as long as you're a member, the months that you're a member of, you have access to those designs. So if you've been a member from the very beginning, you have access. They just don't live inside the group for eternity. They live in your email account for eternity or wherever you decide to store them externally. I always save and I put it in my email, my welcome email, the way that I recommend storing your templates when it comes to being in a group like the Paint Studio. I always recommend that you create a folder inside your email account. Even if you go ahead and save them in say a Google Drive or a folder on your computer, even if all that crashes one day, your email account will still have it nice and organized and you won't have to go searching for all the things. All right, so now we just have one more little place to shade on his mustache. And that's the very tip top. Okay. Nice short choppy strokes. You can always go back in with one final stroke and clean all that up. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so nice short choppy strokes so you can maintain control. And then once you have it all nice and shaded, you can go back in and just one last swipe and clean up all the brush strokes. Okay, I'm going to come in with this teeny tiny little flat brush, and it's just because it was tiny. I'm going to, that little gray mixture, I'm going to put that little dark spot of his mouth, where his mouth is open. Okay, just right here. I'm being super detailed today. A lot of times we're not this detailed, but we're also not working on a design that has this much detail that is important. A lot of times I'll tell you, look, nobody is breaking out a ruler and you want to spend some time with anything that has a face. That's my rule. If it has a face, we spend a little extra time on it. That is my rule. And technically, he doesn't have a face. He just has a nose, right? But we're going to count that as a face. Oh, Karen. Oh, yes, the tin can. Oh, that's not even over here right now because I have it over. I have to take pictures of it. I have yet to take pictures of it. My tin can. Oh, yes, we learned how to do galvanized tin. One of my favorite techniques of all time. We'll be busting that technique out, and I'll be showing you how to use that technique with different things, not just galvanized tin. There's a porch leaner attachment. There's a porch leaner file that is a bonus for everyone who joins. So when you first come in, your very first project, I always recommend to make a porch leaner if you don't already have one. You do not have to make a porch leaner though. These attachments can be shelf sitters like I'm using it today. I'm using it as a shelf sitter. It can go on your porch leaner, your 6-foot porch leaner, or you can make an attachable door hanger. Ta-da! Which is what this one's going on today. Okay. So that's another way I recommend using your attachments. You can either use them as shelf sitters or a tier tray, like your big piece in your tier tray, or you can put them on an attachable, interchangeable door hanger. Yes, the recordings will be done twice a month. So we'll do a recording for the door hanger, and then we'll come back another day, like later on in the month, and we'll do the garland but when we do the door hanger, remember, you have all the techniques that you need for the entire month in that. So if you can only make one tutorial of the month, I recommend the door hanger, because let's take the pocket full of posy while everything's dry on in here, because there's some wet black on here. So we don't want to smear that. So let's take the pocket full of posy. So everything on the pocket full of posy, which if you go to that virtual paint party, I teach you how to do denim, the denim technique. That's that technique for this particular design. Every design in the paint studio has a paint technique in mind. It's not just about the design itself. I pick a technique, and the design is inspired from that technique that I want to teach. It's a teaching group. So does it come with some cute files? Absolutely. But the focus on it is to create a community where everybody is learning something and building something, and then adding to their paint skills. So for the pocket full of posies, if you just made the door hanger, you could have winged it on the garland, and you didn't have to watch those tutorials necessarily to be able to thrive at painting those two, because the same techniques that are on the door hanger are used on those as well. So it all works to your benefit. If you can only make one tutorial a month, I highly recommend making sure you make the door hanger tutorial. What kind of wood? I use 1/4 inch underlayment. I typically get mine from either Home Depot. And if I can't get it at Home Depot, which right now I can't, I like to get mine from Lowe's. I get Revolution Ply. A lot of people talk about birch as well, and I've known a lot of people to really highly recommend birch. So 1/4 inch is the key, though. You want 1/4 inch wood. You don't want it to be so heavy that it's really weighing on the hinges of your door. I can't wait to get to know all. Oh, Tammy says she can't wait to get to know us all in the studio and learn all the things. Well, that's the goal, is to teach all the things. I use Revolution plywood. It's a 1/4 inch thick from Lowe's. Karen, yes. Okay, so that's what, actually, if you look on here, that's what I'm painting on today. But I don't think I have anything that I've painted recently over here. Oh, this is the Home Depot wood. So you see Home Depot, it has like knots in it, and it has some grain in it. That's why I like the Home Depot wood. Is because if specifically if I'm going to stain something, I'm going to want the Home Depot wood. It has a nice pretty grain to it. Can you teach us how to paint fabric? Yes, that's actually on the list, Terry. Shh, no spoiler alerts. Like a blanket laying on the floor or something like that. Mm-hmm. Not going to give away any of I'm not going to give any of it away, but yes, that's coming up. That's on the list before the end of the year. Absolutely. That could be a good Christmas present, Terry. Like for the grandbabies. You could also use it for yard flags. That was the idea that I had. All right, let's get into the hands, the nose, and the lip. So the color I like to use whenever we are painting, still need to paint our milk too. When I paint skin tone, especially if it's a fair complected skin tone, I like natural buff. Natural buff is just that. Yeah, in the buff kind of color. Like it's very Erica. It's very Erica, okay? Erica with a little bit of peach. Okay, so we're going to do some natural buff. I'm going to break out. I'm going to bump up in brush size just a little bit. We're going to go with the 1/2 inch instead of the 3/8. Oh, one of my hairs is. So if you join the paint studio, I do recommend going straight to the guide section once you get into the actual Facebook group. It is where all of the important information is going to be. I'm going to spend a lot of time this weekend, this coming up weekend, cleaning it up, or not this coming up weekend, this week, cleaning it up to make sure everything's where it's supposed to be as far as tutorials, so you can find it. I do operate mine just a little bit different than most groups that you probably have been in or are a member of already. I organize my group all inside the Facebook group. There's no external password that you need. As long as if you can log into your Facebook account, you can log into the studio. I'm funny about having to log in somewhere else, but that comes with the perk of it being a smaller community. We can maintain it like that. That's the FedEx guy. I think I had a FedEx guy come in. Yeah, because I just heard the truck go. If it's the neighbor, they'll just have to wait. They'll just have to wait. Yeah, I heard the truck. It was the FedEx guy. We order from different we order coffee from different micro coffee places. I do buy store coffee, but I have tried different coffee places, and most of the coffee places I've noticed have used FedEx to ship. And I order once a month from a different one. I've ordered from Leah. Are you still watching? What's your coffee place? Aaliyah's husband roast, not brews. Roast coffee beans, and he has very unique flavors. I've had theirs. Theirs is really good. I had theirs back at Christmas time. There's another one. It's one of my favorite bands from growing up. It's Green Day. I think I've had theirs a couple of times. I've had Aaliyah's. I've had hers in person at Ramo, and I've ordered a bag or two. There's a couple of others. One that's out of Arkansas or Oklahoma. I don't remember. Maybe Missouri. I don't know. I just know the company's name. They're saved in my email. So whenever I feel like, I want, it's kind of like getting a bottle of wine. You're like, I want to try this label, and I want to try this label, or I want to try this label. It's like, for me, that's coffee. I want to try this roast, and I want to try this roast, and I've learned that I don't like them all. My dogs are turning their head trying to figure out what that barking is coming from. Romo, you're creating a chain reaction, dude. Calm it down. Oh, thank you, these are making me blush. This is what happens when I read y'all's comments inside the studio. They will sit there and do this all month long. They crack me up. I'm a good mentor. I was like, I'll read it and I'll look at my husband and I go, oh, look what they said. Oh, you can get me crying. That's all I want. I just want to teach. I just want to teach all the things. And I'm not the, hey, look, and I will tell you, I am not the authority on anything. I am not like, I am a crafter just along with you. I am constantly learning new things, and I firmly believe if you feel like you know all the things and you feel like you're the authority on it, it's time to sit your happy butt down and learn some humility and be a little bit more humble, because when it comes to art, you're never done learning, and you're never the expert. You're just good. You just gain some confidence. Like, I don't see where someone can say I'm the expert at art, because art is there's so much interpretation. No, and that's just my opinion. Y'all do not, and again, not the authority on it. Like, that's just how I feel. I feel like if I had to say, as an artist, it's very hard for us. I am pulling out warm beige, if you're wondering what I'm doing. loading my brush with warm beige, and we're about to shade this nose and this hand, and then I'm gonna have to go back with my natural buff and do his little lip because I forgot to base coat his lip. So let's start with this little hand. We're gonna come in and do his little thumb and the bottom. So I feel like we're always learning together in the studio. I feel like even when I'm sitting down to teach a tutorial, I feel like how dare I? Like there's a layer to me that I'm just like, how blessed am I to be able to say that I teach this? Because honestly, I feel like even when I sit down to teach it, I'm still in the process of learning it myself. Like I feel like I'm never going to be done learning or improving on especially some paint techniques. Shading, I feel like with every time you sit down with an angle brush, you get that much better. No, even if someone called you an expert on it yesterday, I feel like when you sit down and with an angle brush and you sit there and you shade the next project, you got that much better at it. You're still learning little tips and tricks. Okay, so there's his little hands. Again, these are not necessarily going to be super dark, super saturated colors, but they make it, okay, I want you to really pay attention to his nose, okay? This is where it's really going to make a difference. Hey, Becca, what's up? So this is where it's going to make a huge difference, okay? We're going to do the bottom of his nose. I'm going to turn it sideways because I'm a directional painter and I need to be able to paint towards myself. I'm doing short, choppy strokes. And I'm pushing this paint around. I'm going to come back because I still have paint on the other side of my brush. Pick up a little bit more. Look at that. You see how it just made his nose pop? We're not done. We're going to take natural buff. We're going to let that dry. I'm going to paint his lip because I forgot to paint his lip. I'm going to take some natural buff. Let's see. I'm going to take this little flat brush that we used earlier. Just paint his little lip in. Okay, there's his little lip. So you see how bright his lip is compared to his nose now that we've shaded it? That's what shading does. It adds depth. It adds dimension. It adds separation. It does a lot of things. And we periodically come back to shading in the studio. We periodically have a design every once in a while that will, you can do it, you cannot do it. It's not going to make or break your design, but it really is, if you attempt it, it's going to set it apart, okay? This is Tammy Jennings, and I came with Christy Rayner in September to Shreveport. Can't wait to see you again in Dallas. Yay! Tammy, okay, so y'all, if y'all saw the live not too long ago where we raved about the cup and where we talked about the pineapples, Miss Christy Rayner is our friend that got to hooping and hollering. Let me tell you, her little partner in crime was little Miss Tammy Jennings. They kept the room rolling. Now, Tammy, you could tell Christy was the extrovert, Tammy was the introvert, and they were the perfect storm. Like they created their table probably had way too much fun. Too much fun. It was embarrassing how much fun they were having. It was such a sweet, I loved it. I cannot wait to see you again either, Tammy. I'm excited you're coming. I'm so excited you're coming. I knew Chrissy was coming. She didn't mention that Tammy was coming. Are you coming with Chrissy? Obviously you're coming with Chrissy. Coming with Chrissy, right? All right, so I've got my light buttermilk and I ghosted it out with some white. And I'm just going to paint me some milk down here. While everything up there is drying. What missed me till now? Are you just chiming in? Are you just now hopping on? Now with your light buttermilk over here, remember I ghosted it down with some white. So it's not straight from the bottle light buttermilk. It has a little bit of white mixed into it. Oh, I cannot wait to get this one on an attachment. He may have to be a wreath attachment for my mama. My mama loves cows. I'll be there on Thursday. I'll probably get there sometime Thursday, mid-Thursday afternoon. We have VBS until noon and on Thursday. Thursday's the last day. So we have VBS until noon. And I will probably head this way after I pick Raylan up from VBS. Y'all are so sweet. Okay, so now we need to put some highlight on his nose, and then we'll come back in. I want to do this brim very last, just because I feel like it's going to make it pop a little bit. I don't want to mess up my nose. I want to finish my nose and get it dried before we move on. So the same light buttermilk, not light buttermilk, natural beige. The kid across the street. All right, so natural beige, and we're going to add just a little bit of white to it. It may not make too much of a difference. I think it will. I think it will. We're just going to pop it on the very top of the nose. Now, I will say at the event, I'm not going to be shading. Y'all see how long it takes? It really doesn't take this long. I'm just being super tedious with my little Nomi man. Usually it doesn't take this long. Okay, there we go. See how his little nose pops? Now you're going to see a little bit of wetness, like right here. That's going to dry down crystal clear. It's not going to mess anything up. But it made the little top of his nose just pop just a little bit. I'm going to put just a little bit on the tops of his hands, so that they catch a little bit of light. Okay. I'm going to clean my brush, and we're going to do his little lip. We're just going to add a little bit of shading to the bottom of his lip. And that's it. So I'm going to load my brush up with some floating medium. Make sure my brush isn't dirty, because my water is, and we don't want to transfer dirty water to a clean brush. Add some of that warm beige. I kept wanting to call it territorial beige. That is not it. Do not use territorial beige on your gnome whatsoever, unless you're doing brown cow spots. No, don't do it. So here we go. Just going to add just a little bit on the bottom of his lip. And if we want it to be more opaque, let it dry, come back and do a second coat. And it doesn't take long for it to dry, because we're doing super light coats. All right, so now all we have left to do is maybe a little second coat in our milk, and some work on his hat, and we're done. Absolutely done. Don't need a stitch of paint pen if we don't want it. Don't need a stitch of paint pen. I am going to add just a little bit shading to this cowbell down here. Okay. Oh, you can always tell a kid's first truck. What's sad is that's not his first truck. He's had a few, and he tricks them out like that. It doesn't bother me. It honestly never bothers me. I'm glad he has something constructive. Like, there's worse things he could be doing. He sits and tinkers with that truck all day long. Worse things a young man could be doing. So I'd much rather him do that than be in trouble somewhere. All right, so here we go. I'm going to add some shading to the hat. Go around and separate. And clean my brush up. Put just a little bit of gray sky. Let's see if we can tone that down a little bit. That's all I'm using is gray sky. Remember, I'm not using a lot of pressure, but I want you to see this. You see that little hash? It's kind of, let me do it up here. You can probably see it better over here. See how it's getting kind of feathery right here, like looking like Morse code? My brush is too dry. That means I need to get some more. I need to clean my brush. I'm almost out of floating gel. Floating gel, floating medium. I use blending gel and floating medium. Blending gel is a lot thinner. And it stays wetter longer than floating medium. They do the same job, but there's the difference right there. I know he's holding a bottle, but what's the other thing? That's cowbell. Ding, ding. I almost made it gray, but I felt like when I made it gray, there was like so much black and white going on in this picture that I needed some pop of color. And every color that I worked with, you could not tell that it was a cowbell. And I like my gnomes to be standalone. If I put something around them, like a circle or something around them, that means that the gnome got too busy. And I hate forcing my jigsaw people to have to cut something that busy. So if it gets busy on the outside, I tend to throw a basic shape around it to kind of soften it up. My laser people can extract the gnome from that background if they want to. Or if something I used to do when I cut with a jigsaw was if there was a design that I wanted to paint, but I was like, ooh, but I don't want to paint. I don't want to have to cut out all those curves or all those points. Like pineapples for me. I love a good pineapple. I love a good pineapple design. But if it has 5,000 points on it, your girl isn't going to be cutting that out with a jigsaw. I'm going to talk myself out of it 100%. Maury Povich 100% of the time. There was a mason jar design way back in the day that I did a lot of paint parties with. And I loathed cutting that one out because there were just so many turns. I feel like every daggum leaf in that design was a separate cutout. Okay, so I'm just going around the brim of this hat. Okay. And I'm not picking up a lot of paint. I'm not using a lot of pressure. Now, do you see why I did not want any cow spots in the brim of the hat? It really does set it apart to have that clean white be the brim of the hat. And all this floating that goes in it kind of dingies it up just enough. Just enough. To give it character and definition without us having to probably get in there with a paint pen. And that's always my goal when I paint something. I was like, ooh, but can I get away with not using paint pen? And I think I can today. The only thing that would benefit is maybe in his little beard, like putting some little tufts. All right, so now when it comes to the brim of up here, we are going to be doing some shading up there. Okay, and again, just some gray sky. Same as on the brim of the hat. We're going to do the same up here. We do want to blow dry the hat. We want to blow dry all the work that we just did. We heard all about them pineapples in September. Right, Tammy? I have a surprise with pineapples this month. Just for y'all. We're going to bring September's paint retreat. We're going to bring it to the Wallace House Design page this month. Just for a little fun. Just for a little reminiscing. I thought it was a hanky. I mean, if you want it to be a hanky, it could be a hanky. Put some lace on there. Throw some little polka dots and some flowers. Cool, cool. Your little cow gnome can do whatever he dang well pleases. You can be holding whatever you want. Okay, so I'm just throwing some highlights on his hat. I'm going to go all the way around. And I'm just going to float in some shading. Clean my brush up just a little bit. Turn that down just a little bit. So all I'm putting on my brush is a little bit of floating medium. And I'm going to soften that up just a little bit and get it moving. Okay. And then get some more. Make sure my brush is clean. Okay. Get a little bit, just a little bit. You just want it on the very tip of your toe. See, just a teeny tiny little bit. Okay. This is where it starts to get a little creative when you've got curves. So I'm not going to do this bottom part yet. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to come back and do that next. I'm going to let it dry a little bit before I come back. I think my brush is dirty. My brush is dirty. I'm going to teach y'all a trick on how to clean that up. All right, so my brush is dirty, which means it's transferring dirty water. It means my paint water is dirty. I'm just going to load it with some floating medium. I'm going to go over that harsh line of where it is transferring that dirty water. And I'm just going to push it back and forth. And it's going to clean that up. Okay, it's just going to clean that up. I'll feather it out just a little bit. That way, not all is lost. All right, so my water is dirty. I'm not happy about this. So that means I need to clean it really good and try to get it really dry. I'm not making any promises. And then pick up just the tiniest little bit of gray. Be very careful. There we go. Be very careful about how I lay this brush down. There we go. Much better, much better. And it could be that my water wasn't dirty. I could be transferring some of this black. I think that's what's really happening here. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Just transferring some of that black. Okay. Okay. Now, clean my brush. Clean up that little bit of black. By working it back with that floating medium. Now remember, we totally left this off because we wanted to come back and do it with a clean brush and not interfere with any of this that we just did. We wanted it to dry. So we had to be a little strategic. and let that dry so that we can come back and float again in a different direction without erasing all of that. Ta-da! See? And now our hat has a lot of definition in it, but it's a soft. It's not as harsh as a paint pen would be. And don't get me wrong, I love a good paint pen. You may see this thing all painted up, sealed and everything, and I may have added a little bit of paint pen to it, but probably not this time. I love him just the way he is. We can add a little bit of paint pen to him, but I don't think it's going to add a whole heck of a lot. In fact, I think it may end up distracting a little bit from all the work that we just did. So glad I got to spend today with you. I'm so glad I got to see y'all today, or at least see your names on the screen. Looking awesome. Let's see. You made my morning. I love watching you paint. Oh, thank you, Karen. I love painting, and I love the fact that I get to paint with y'all. Otherwise, I'd just be sitting here by myself. So thanks for keeping me company. Again, y'all don't forget, Paint Studios open until April 30th. It will close. Doors will close at midnight on April 30th. It's $15 a month. You get a 3-piece decor set. Something very similar to something this size, which is a porch cleaner attachment. You get a door hanger that coordinates and a garland that coordinates. And then we do little bonuses throughout the month as well. And some of my crafty friends pop in and out from here and there and all over the wares, right? All right. Well, I will see y'all. Oh, Becca. I love y'all. Y'all are so sweet. I can't wait to see y'all in the studio. Remember, once you register in about 24 hours, you'll be getting a welcome email. And then on the 1st of the month, you'll be admitted into the group and you'll be able to explore all the things. I'll see y'all later.